I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Jeff Charles, James Fight, Andrew Moran, and Sarah Cowgill. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. On today's episode, what is going on in America? Snap out of it. Haitian hell and other Biden debacles. Haitians are being sent home and hidden in the U.S. What's going on? Justice for J6 Fed fizzle. It's just one embarrassing moment after another. We'll tell you why. Gabby Petito, the crime, the cops, the media. What made the tragic case of Gabby Petito go viral? And exclusively for our Member Zone subscribers, the Trump engine revs up again, and Dems are starting to panic. We'll play around in our Just for Fun segment, political worst case scenarios. All this coming up on this edition of the Conservative Five. Under a bridge near Del Rio, Texas, thousands of illegal aliens from Haiti are languishing in deplorable conditions. As the activist media finally took notice, the Biden administration is doing its best to spin this one. But by and large, they're getting hammered by Democrats, hammered by progressives, hammered by Republicans, and folks living on the southern border. Okay, pretty much everyone. It's a humanitarian catastrophe and a public relations disaster for the West Wing. What happened? Didn't we have this almost under control? You're a Lone Star State man, Jeff. I know you and our entire panel has been keeping an eye on what's happening and, well, what's not happening. We've got Haitians being airlifted to Port-au-Prince, but others are being taken to parts unknown here in the States. There's also a side circus that the White House has latched onto about border agents whipping immigrants. And now a just released Freedom of Information request from HHS citing sexual and physical abuse of migrant children. Wow. What do you want to tackle first, Mr. Charles?
You honestly, there's so much there that it's hard to pick one first, but I'll pick the last thing you said first as far as the abuse of migrant children. Look, we actually knew about this a few months ago, but the thing is the activist media was not making much of a big deal out of it. And now, to their credit, BBC, and I believe it might have been either CBS or ABC, actually got leaked or not leaked documentation, but they actually spoke with people working in the facility at Fort Bliss here in Texas, who told them about the conditions that these unaccompanied minors are living in, and they are abysmal. I mean, you've got some that have been sexually abused. We've got into sexual assault, at least one. But according to the new documentation, it's actually a lot more than that. They're also living in substandard conditions. They complained about being served raw chicken. A lot of them had dealt with lice. So the way the Biden administration is treating these kids is horrible. It's abysmal. And yeah, it is much worse than it was under the Trump administration, which had its own issues as well. So, but here's the thing. A lot of these things don't really come to light because the activist media doesn't really focus as much on it. Those two, when I first heard that first story months ago, those two outlets were the only ones that covered it. And as of now, I'm still not seeing a lot covering this Freedom of Information Act, the documentation that came out. I'm still not seeing a whole lot of them cover the contents of that documentation. So unfortunately, the U.S. government is allowing these children to be abused, and they're not being held accountable for it.
All right, but there sure is a lot of coverage, Andrew, about the Border Patrol supposedly whipping Haitian immigrants.
Yeah, what I find interesting about that imagery is that it's only a few seconds long, and they completely probably blow it out of context. But at the same time, they don't show the other images of those same Border Patrol agents, working with the kids, smiling, joking, laughing with the children. So it's just another blatant mainstream media fabrication. At the same time, though, I mean, you have to give them some credit in the sense that they're going after Vice President Kamala Harris by, for instance, MSNBC's Michelle Rule. She was complaining that, where is she? Why is she so absent on this file? The only time you ever see her on camera is, laughing to a reporter whenever a journalist asks her a question. So the mainstream media is just, once again, they're making fools of themselves on this issue when they should be tackling the root of this issue, which is an economics one, in my opinion. But that's just me trying to justify my position.
Right. Sarah, Gayle King of CBS took on Jen Psaki the other day talking about this issue. And Psaki was sort of taken aback, like, wow, what are you doing? You're
Stop being mean to me.
You're being aggressive. You're asking me questions.
The media is trying to come around a little bit, but they're also spinning a false narrative. If you ask any equestrian, of which I am, that's not a whip. That's a split rein. And Border Patrol has been trained by this administration, not the last one or the one before. They've been trained now in using horseback patrols. And that's a tactic. They are supposed to use that tactic. It's a non-violent, non-threatening, non-lethal tactic. It's a rein. It's a split rein. It is not a whip. So if people want to continue to, spout that nonsense, they're going to go down a rabbit hole really quick with it.
Okay, you brought up something interesting. Yes, you are a equestrian or horsewoman or whatever you want to call it. Can you really whip people with reins?
No, he's probably trying to move his horse and he's going kind of fast. So the reins are going to be in motion anyway. You communicate through the hands. You don't yank, you don't pull, you communicate with gentle, pressure on the reins. What he was trying to do, the one photo, what the man was trying to do was grab the man's collar to slow him down.
What is the point of the split rein, Sarah?
It's just a different style. A split rein is more of a Western style. A contained, a rope rein, a together rein where you just, have it looped around the neck. And that's more of an English style or a jumping style. A split rein is very Western oriented.
All right. Now, Jim, do you have Haitians showing up in Arkansas?
Not that I'm aware of, not yet. But, when the Homeland Security Secretary talked about how the border's closed and we're deporting all these Haitians, they kind of try to sweep under the rug the whole thing about if this is a family unit or unaccompanied minors or anything to that effect. Yeah, they're not getting sent back. They're getting bussed and flown into different parts of the states. Luckily, apparently not in my neighborhood a whole lot yet, but who knows? Maybe we're next.
Jeff, did you hear that Mayorkas couldn't come up with the number of people who have crossed into the border to date? He's been asked, and maybe by the time this airs, he'll cough up a number. But what's that about?
I'm actually very surprised to hear that an administration whose officials still couldn't tell how many Americans were left behind in Afghanistan has no idea how many people have come into the country legally or illegally. So, yeah, I'm really not shocked by that at all.
Hey, to be fair though, Jeff, does anybody know that number?
Yeah, probably not. So
the ones that stop, you just don't know the ones that get through. And the other thing is, and I'm just going to say this: of all of the immigrants seeking asylum, I'm pretty sure Haiti should be at the top of the list.
I think so.
And they're just not doing it correctly.
Yeah, and from what I've read, I've read too, a lot
easier for the government to send them back. It's not fair. It's easier for them to get them on a plane, send them back to Haiti, and let them try to get back over here again. And they deal with the Southern and Central Americans. And it's not fair because I think Haiti really is an asylum-seeking nation right now, and they should be the one people we're not messing around with.
Yeah, and from what I read, a lot of these individuals are refugees from the 2010 earthquake. Like, we forget that just because it happened in 2010 doesn't mean that it still isn't affecting the country now, which has experienced another earthquake. So it is very telling that the administration is treating these Haitian migrants differently from how they treated the ones from South and Central America, many or most of which are only coming here for economic reasons and not because they're actually fleeing a type of oppression.
But Andrew, I'm understanding that these people aren't coming directly from Haiti, obviously. They've been languishing in Chile for years and years and years. What was the sudden reason that they all decided to hoof it over now?
Well, Chile is also, it's not an economic paradise. It's also suffering from its own economic problems. But when it comes to Haiti, I think this is just another example of a foreign policy blunder. The United States has spent billions of dollars in aid to Haiti, and where's that money gone to? It's just gone to corrupt officials in Haiti. It's gone to the special interest projects that have occurred there. Just today, there was a resurfaced interview that Joe Biden did in 1994. He said, quote, "If Haiti, a god-awful thing to say, if Haiti Haiti just quietly sunk into the Caribbean or rose up 300 feet, it wouldn't matter a whole lot in terms of our interest. And I think that goes to the extent of the fact that a lot of these officials have no clue what goes on outside of the United States. All they know is that they just know how to spend money. Because one of Obama's chief humanitarian targets was Haiti, but that it didn't work. Nothing worked. 10 years later or 20 years after that earthquake, they still haven't rebuilt properly because of how inept these people are. And if I may say one thing that I find also interesting about this Haiti story is that you have people of color fleeing an impoverished and corrupt nation, and they're traveling to the United States. But the left keeps telling me how racist and terrible it is for minorities. So it's truly a testament how so many people, so many minorities still clamor to go to the U.S. despite what Ilhan Omar and AOC say about how god-awful it is.
Yeah, Jeff, Jim, I want to talk a little bit about the rules and regs here. Psaki went over yesterday in a news conference in the White House press briefing, actually. Some of these people are being given one set of documents. In other words, you must appear. And the other ones are getting another set of documents, but those are more likely. And those are like, it's a good idea if you let us know. Are any of the immigration laws really being followed by, just taking these people off a plane and putting them in Maryland and Tampa and Orlando and wherever?
Ultimately, that will remain to be seen. But historically, the answer is no. Generally speaking, once you cut somebody loose in the U.S., I mean, on paper, they may be illegal and, hey, you're supposed to come to court, but I won't name any names, but I personally know people who have been in this country for a very long time and never shown up to court.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, I'll give you the final word since you started us out.
Well, I mean, this is just part and parcel of the administration's very strange approach to immigration. I mean, they brought back catch and release for a reason. It's just interesting to see how they treat one group of immigrants versus another. I mean, we're talking about Haitians, but we still remember what happened when Cubans wanted to get into the country. They were like, no, you can take your butts back to Cuba. So this administration is not consistent. It's disjointed. It doesn't seem like it really has it together when it comes to dealing with the immigration issue. And who's suffering? Migrants, Americans, Border Patrol, which is stretched thin.
Kids.
Yeah, especially the kids. So this is just an unmitigated disaster. And it's unfortunate because I want to be positive about this, but I don't see this getting better anytime soon under this administration. They don't seem to really care about doing something about this.
Well, the conditions these people are living in, under a bridge, serious lack of fresh water, sanitary facilities, piles of garbage around. It's about the most un-American situation as you can get. And the word is out now that a caravan of another 20,000 Haitians who've been holed up in Chile are on their way. Looks like things may get a whole lot worse down on the border. Thanks, panel. It seems Joe Biden's FBI attempted to orchestrate a Trump riot, but hardly anyone showed up at the Capitol protest in D.C. on September 18th. Its purpose was to bring attention to detainees arrested for the January 6th commotion. Many of the folks have yet to have their day in court. Some have even been held without bail. Patriotic Americans know this is not justice and wanted to rally to show support for the law and American values. The combined knees shaking on the Hill was nearly eardrum shattering, and it appears the feds had a plan: infiltrate the crowd with undercover agents. What could possibly go wrong? It looks like the infiltration must have been good because the feds arrested, one of their own. Yep, an FBI guy. Prepared for the trap, Trump supporters smelled a rat early on and changed plans. The only thing the TV cameras caught was a small crowd strolling peacefully through DC on a Saturday and seeing a few nonviolent folks surrounded by federal agents in riot gear was not the optics the Biden folks needed this week. What an awkward moment, Jim, when the feds started in on one of their own undercover agents. It was almost comical, don't you think?
The video of that particular instance was quite comical, but where they pulled the guy's gun, they're like, oh wait, oops, and gave it back and escorted him out. The only thing that makes the whole situation not hilarious, that the feds threw a rally and nobody but the feds and the media showed up, is for one thing, and I'll give this as a little nod to Andrew, our neighbor up north. I know he'll appreciate this. This whole thing, this orchestrated event, we, the taxpayers, are paying for that. That's at our expense. And look, I like watching a movie or going to a concert as much as the next guy. I'll pay for a show if it's what I want to see. I even went to the circus once, but this is one circus I had no intention of paying for. The other issue is that guy who got the attention of the riot police, who happened to be an undercover. He had a gun.
Well, no, wait. Are you sure about that? I saw them take a badge out, but I'm not sure I saw them take a gun. Did you guys see the gun?
I thought it was a gun.
They stopped him because he had a gun. They could see the gun, and so that's why they stopped him and started to interrogate him and to detain him.
I guess it was the badge that they actually pulled out of wherever he had it hidden.
We know there's no open carry in DC, right?
That should have been the dead giveaway, I suppose. But no, I mean, look, what if 300 or 400 Trump supporters did show up? Otherwise, completely peaceful, completely law-abiding. And you've got these guys planted in here to incite a riot. And they're armed and ready to carry out lethal force if need be. There's nothing funny about that.
I'm sure you weren't there, but what do you make of the goings on? Was it comical or sad or both?
It's comical and it's sad for the left. I mean, this whole thing demonstrated how out of touch the left is and how little the left understands the right. And they demonstrate this on numerous occasions. But I saw in the aftermath of this whole thing, I saw Amy Siskin and other wacko left-wing media activists saying, oh, they threw a rally and nobody showed up. Well, yeah, Trump didn't want to show up. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't want to show up, and she loves these types of rallies. Matt Gaetz, too. And they're saying, oh, it was just a low turnout. Ha, ha, ha. Nobody has any support. And I'm thinking, wait, no. On the right, we're glad that this thing didn't go the way it was supposed to. We're glad that people didn't really show up to this thing, because even if it was legitimate or parts of it were, the media was going to find something to use to make it sound like these people are violent or these people are bigoted or what have you. So it doesn't really matter to us that this thing didn't go off the way that ostensibly it was supposed to. So I had a pretty good laugh at that. I mean, it didn't give the media what they wanted, and I predicted that it wouldn't, because I could just see it shaping up that way. It was going to be a low turnout, or even if it was a big turnout, nothing was going to happen, because what the media doesn't want to recognize is that the January 6th riot is a one-off. This isn't a normal thing on the right as it is on the hard left. People on the right in general don't riot. So it was never going to be what they wanted it to be in the first place.
Andrew, maybe they, just to play devil's advocate, maybe they did actually get their way because nobody did show up. And, even with the undercover cops, I mean, nothing bad really happened. It was just all stupidity and bad comedy.
Yeah. Jeff said former President Donald Trump, he urged everybody not to go. He knew right away that this was a setup, and it looked like he was right on the money. But to add to Jeff's point, it's not only they don't know about the right, they think very little of the right if they think that these Trump supporters or anybody else who attended it could be framed easier than Whistler's mother. If this was truly a setup all along, it's insulting. They were obvious. If you look at all the photos of the people who were suspected to be agents or part of the government, it was obvious that they were. They all had the same look. They had the same head. They had the muscles. They had the sunglasses. And I think Sarah.
They were preppy. They were just preppy. They looked like they should have been on Martha's
Dog got their
Vineyard.
disguises out of the same closet there.
Yeah. Sarah posted that meme. I think it was Abercrombie and Snitch. Abercrombie and Snitch. There you go.
I like that one. Yeah.
I think that was it. But do they think that, and if there were Trump supporters there, do they think anybody would have started another, quote, insurrection? Because if you saw that clip, there was a new video released of showing the January 6th event, and everyone's going in the building just being calm. When I think of an insurrection, I think of, it's people with these guns and military going, we're going to take over the government. But that never happened. It was just people strolling around.
Yeah, Sarah, it's true. I mean, there was one piece of footage where somebody was breaking glass to get in. But when you got in the rotunda, it was sort of amazing. There were old ladies in fur coats looking around, staying within the boundaries, making sure they didn't go outside of the rope line, and they were just kind of walking through. Do you remember that?
I do.
It's your stock insurrectionist right there.
Yeah, this was such a sad display of the left. they had riot gear, people in riot gear hanging out with people that look like they just got off their sailboat with the Kennedy family, and the high and tight haircuts. That's a sure sign that they're military or ex-military or feds. And it was ridiculous. But it shows you how much power that Donald Trump has, because he's just basically called it off at the last minute. He said, "Don't go, just don't go," and that flew around. And there was a low jungle drum beat about don't show up, don't show up, don't show up. So the people that did show up are the people that thought they were going to incite some kind of disturbance. Trump people didn't show up, and that shows you the power that man still has.
Yeah, Jeff, do you keep to the thought that this is J6 was just a one-off, or will we be seeing a little more of this should Trump decide to run again, which he most certainly will?
Yeah, I really don't think so. I mean, I think January 6th, that there were a lot of issues going on. There was a lot of tension, or whatever the reasons were that led to what happened. I don't think that those factors are still in play now. And like I said, in general, folks on the right don't riot in that way. A lot of times they don't even protest, which I wish people on the right would protest more peacefully. But in general, that's just not our thing. And on top of that, even when J6 happened, what was the reaction with the overall conservative movement and the Republican Party? Everybody condemned it. But when people on the left do it, then it can be ongoing. They do it all the time. They'll do it again. And Democrats will justify it. Not all of them, but a lot of them will speak out in support of the rioting or try to defend it or deflect or what have you. That didn't happen with J6. Yes, there were some people who tried to defend it or downplay it or whatever. But in general, no people on the right don't agree with what those folks did. So yeah, it's a totally different mindset, at least on this issue right here. I mean, when it comes to political violence, we're not really in support of it.
Yeah, if you see footage of the event, there were a lot of people who are at the actual protest saying, "No, don't do this. Don't break the window. Yep. Don't go into the rotunda. Don't do this. Don't do that." Because a lot of people knew the reaction, what would be. And now you're seeing all with the probe, the January 6th probe going on. You're gonna have the Democrats take full advantage of what happened.
They're milking it for all it's worth.
It's worse than September 11th, according to some Democrats.
Yeah,
good grief.
Well, I guess September 18th is going to have to go down as another real head shaker. Thanks for tuning in, folks. The disappearance of a captivating young social media influencer energized a nation to ask, where is Gabby? Gabby Petito, age 22, unfortunately was found dead. The FBI say she was killed, and a nationwide manhunt for her fiance, Brian Laundrie, is underway. Gabby's disappearance and death was, of course, a tragic situation, but it's compounded by so many other issues, it's hard to know where to start. Why didn't the obvious domestic abuse situation set off bells and whistles before the murder? Why didn't the cops keep their eye on Laundrie? And now some of the leftist media are saying America's only interested in this case because Petito is white. You can't make this stuff up, folks. All of these stories warrant attention. Sarah, you spent a great deal of time in New Mexico and Arizona for the most part. I know you have thoughts about the inequality of attention missing girls and women get. Does everything have to come down to racism in the country these days?
It's not racism at all, as far as I can see. There is an inequality, but it's not racism driven. Otherwise, we wouldn't have spent the last year and a half with George Floyd honored and immortalized in our face, for every single moment of that tape. That shows you the power of social media, and it also shows you the power of unequal reporting. The whole world was behind George Floyd. The whole world's behind Gabby Petito. It has nothing to do with race. I think what it has to do in certain circumstances is, for instance, in Wyoming, just alone in Wyoming, over 700 women and children, young girls, have gone missing in that state in the last decade.
Wow. What about New Mexico and Arizona? You're talking about the inequality of attention to missing girls and women. Are there a lot down there?
That has been going on for decades. There are thousands of Native Americans that have gone missing. Nobody follows it, but it's not racism.
Oh, no,
What-
wait, you're buying into it. Go ahead, Andrew. Yeah.
No.
I've seen that data too, but the thing is that when those numbers are shown, they never look at the conclusion of those cases. So yes, so there were 700 missing people, but if you look at the numbers, 60% of them were resolved because why? A lot of them were young people who just left. Their parents couldn't find them, and then they were found. Other people they left because they had substance abuse issues. So this whole idea that when missing girls are when there's a huge number of them and nobody's paying attention, it's just because nobody ever focuses on that final result, which is they are found. Most of them are found. So I don't like Sarah's use of those numbers, but I apologize in advance. Don't hit me.
Okay.
I know.
So let me
Punch you.
regroup and educate a little bit on the Native American missing. First of all, I-40 is a corridor for trafficking, and that's where people take everyone to go across the country. So that's a part of New Mexico and Arizona. The Petito thing is just a random screwed up relationship thing that caught the attention. The missing Native Americans, thousands, it's not because, they were found or, they did this or that. It's because there's no government cooperation. You have tribal governments that do not like the federal government on their land. The federal government, the local governments, the state governments, they have to ask permission to help out. They have to ask permission to go on the land pursuing any kind of suspect or any kind of missing person. So if the governments are what is keeping these girls, these women, these Native Americans missing, they don't work together. They won't work together. And it's a very slow and special process if they decide to. So
It also goes into the incompetence.
You're going to see the numbers huge because nobody cooperates.
It also goes to the incompetence of these tribal leaders, because a lot of these tribal leaders are just as corrupt as a lot of politicians you see in Washington.
Our leaders aren't competent either. So, put those two together and then you got missing people that never get found.
Jeff, you better sneak in here.
Well, I don't think you guys are going to like my take on this, but I do think that especially the left-wing media is very racist. And George Floyd does not disprove that. They exploited George Floyd to push an agenda that is going to harm Black people. They use George Floyd to push defunding the police, which has been harming Black people. So yes, not everybody in the media is racist, but whether they mean to be or not, the way they cover these things, it shows a bias. I mean, look, this is something that I've noticed actually since I was a kid, and this is something that the Black community does talk about. I mean, over the years, we've had, Lacey Peterson, John Benet Ramsey, Chandra Levy, and Amber Hagerman. And what do they all have in common? Right. So, but here's my thing with this. We have the media complaining that the media doesn't focus on women of color who go missing or get kidnapped or murdered. So it doesn't make any sense because this is pageantry. They don't actually care that they're biased. They're virtue signaling. If they cared, then they would just change the way they cover it. Gabby Petito deserves to have her story told, which is actually one of the reasons why I haven't been talking about this issue as much. I don't want to distract from it, but I mean, they can't focus on every single story of a woman getting kidnapped or murdered. I get that. But I mean, you've got Chicago mothers who have put together an organization to draw attention to the fact that Black women and Black girls are more likely to be sexually trafficked or be victims of human trafficking. It happens all over the place, and the media will not give it the wall-to-wall coverage that they will give something else. So the idea is, it's not that they shouldn't be covering these cases, but I think people would like to see them cover a wider variety to make people more aware. But the thing is, the bottom line is the media doesn't care. It's like me complaining, I hate that I procrastinate so much, and complaining about myself. But then other people are going to look at me and saying, okay, then why don't you do something different then? The media is not going to do anything different. Joy Reid is a hack. She doesn't care about missing Black girls. She doesn't care about missing white women syndrome. She cares more about tap dancing for her white progressives. So no, she's not going to, going forward, we're not going to see any of this change because the bottom line is they're not really serious about this. They just want to push a racial narrative. They don't want to help Black girls or Latino girls or Native American girls. They don't matter.
Jim, we're going to get to the legality of some of this in a minute, but I just want to counter that with one thought. I don't know, maybe I had my head in the sand, but I got the sense that the media was taken with Gabby Petito because there were miles and miles of her on YouTube. I think if she was a Black woman who was a video YouTube influencer, and she just had an engaging personality, I think that would have caught fire just the same, because there was so much material they had to work with. She was engaging. I don't really think, maybe I have my head in the sand, but I didn't really think that people caught on to her because she was white. I think they caught on to her because of her personality. She was charming. She was engaging.
It's all about ratings. And so, if Gabby's got, a bunch of followers, heck yeah, let's pick this one up. This will go far. Look at all the social media attention this girl is getting.
Exactly. She had miles and miles of social media. I mean, Jeff, maybe you're right, and maybe I've got my head in the sand, but I just thought it was because she had miles of YouTube stuff. Now,
I would say in terms of Petito, you are right. I think you are right with Petito in particular. But then with the other names I mentioned, that wasn't necessarily the case.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess I was just talking about Petito. But
right.
Jim, I want to go with you and talk a little bit about, they were stopped by the cops. She was sobbing. All kinds of stuff was going on. Somebody called a 911. Then they get down to Florida and they don't even bother talking to Mr. Laundry. I don't want to say it's the cops' fault, because the cops are kind of doing the best they can, but wow, we got a lot of legal issues here. How do you see this?
Well, I think you're right to take that stance. And there's, who knows what little bits of information we don't have. At any given point, when an officer has to respond to any situation, all he or she can do is deal with what he or she had, the information they have on hand. So to some degree, it's kind of up to the individual officer's discretion whether or not you're going to pursue something most of the time. And so, hey, look, if the cops talked to him and everything seemed like it was okay, or if this guy didn't appear to be an immediate threat to her, there's not really a whole lot the officer can do.
I'm starting to see people starting to blame the cops. And, I watched the footage. I watched most of it. And I also read the entire police report a few times. I can kind of understand why they handled it the way that they did based on what they knew. So I really hope that these officers don't get railroaded. I saw a headline talking about how the Moab Police Department is going to be doing an investigation on their investigation. I don't think that they should be punished, because I can understand why they did what they did.
Well, and to take this back kind of to the last topic, a lot of this, Jeff, I agree with what you said on, in general speaking, the racially charged narrative. But in this particular case, I think it's the far more relevant point is that she was a, so-called social media influencer. Because look, even just half decent people care about other people, right? Regardless of race. Like if Jeff right now, Lord willing, nothing happens. But if Jeff right now, it may shock some to hear this, but Jeff happens to be Black. If I know a Black conservative, but if I didn't
know for Biden, so I don't know about
Jeff, don't duck out of the camera view.
Thank you for pointing that out, Jim. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Jim.
Just in case no one noticed.
And we'll also point out that you're white.
Yeah, that's it. Well, because that's what's really important here, Lisa. I'm joking, of course, for those who can't hear sarcasm, but but anyways, if Jeff said, "Oh, hey, some family member, I haven't heard from him or her in however long," I'm going to care. You're going to care. Any half decent person that hears about it is going to care. But that's the kicker. Who hears about it?
Yeah.
When it's somebody with hundreds of thousands or millions of subscribers on and followers on social media, everyone's going to hear about it. Of course, it's big news. I don't think it has anything to do with her being white.
All right, Jeff, then Andrew.
If I could comment on two parts, because I've been ignored this entire panel. I'm going to grieve. I'm going to send my complaint to the human resources. But so I make 2 points here. When it comes to the domestic abuse issue, if you watch the clip, the camera footage, which is an hour long, you see a lot of the signs of domestic violence. She was hyperventilating. One moment she was upset, the next moment she was crying. Then she had a nervous laughter. If you look at Laundry, he's trying to run away, and then he's having a conversation with the police officer. So domestic violence is a very important issue in the U.S. I think the number is half of women who are victims of murder of homicide. 4 to 6% of them were done by previous lovers, previous boyfriends. And also, if I may comment on the media story, the media right now, they weigh a crime story based on one thing: the identity of the victim and the identity of the alleged criminal.
Very good points.
Well,
Go
and the
ahead.
cop.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say also, according to the police report, though, which was interesting, she was actually the aggressor in this situation, and she admitted to being the aggressor. So did he, and so did the witness that called the police in the first place. But
No, that's not true. The witness that called said that he saw him hitting her.
Right, but then
She just took credit for the situation.
She said that she was upset because he went into the van wearing dirty shoes, and then the police officer asked Laundry if he wanted to file a complaint, and then he said no, it's a lover's quabble. I love her, and I'm not going to press charges. So that's also not a part of the
and it also doesn't mean, because even when the officers talk to them later, I mean, it doesn't mean that there wasn't stuff that has happened in the past. It sounds like they had a toxic relationship, and I don't know if that was more on Laundry or more on her or both or what have you. And to be fair, we still don't even know what actually went down yet, but it is clear that there were issues in their relationship.
Yeah, there was a recent report that said that Petito and Laundry were kicked out of a restaurant in a, quote, full-blown incident just hours before she vanished. So yeah, they had a lot of problems apparently.
Right, in a restaurant in Jackson Hole, I believe. Anyway, I think we're all taking a look from different angles here, and I appreciate that. Great points have been made. And here's to Gabby's killer being brought to justice, whoever that might be. Thanks, panel. Well, folks, we have so much fun with our own version of the political worst case scenario game. We're doing it again. But this time we're going to do it with a bit of a twist. This game allows the panel to choose the best option for survival or sanity. I'm going to call on you one by one, and you can pick a number. That should be obvious. But today we have the Daily Double, a random question that has nothing to do with politics, just to keep you all on your toes. Ready? Jeff, I love to pick on you first. I don't know why, maybe because you picked the number that I wanted. I'm not sure one time, but I'm going to go with you again. So numbers from 1 to 5, Mr. Charles.
So in the spirit of keeping people on their toes, I'm going to go with 5.
Okay, 5. That does.
You just had to hold your finger up,
Okay.
Andrew.
Andrew's had this one off.
Just for those of you who have tuned in for the first time, Jeff always picks number 1. We're not sure why. Number 5, Liz Cheney needs a date to a family wedding, and AOC needs an arm for a charity event. Both on the same day, they both ask you, who do you pick and why? Will it be Liz or AOC?
Wait, I thought this was supposed to be a hard question.
Should have picked one.
I mean, I'm going with AOC. I mean, come on now.
Why? Because she's
Because she's hot.
AOC is hot. Oh,
Dude, you'd have to listen to all the drivel all night long.
You don't think you're going to have that with Cheney?
At least with Cheney,
You think I want to listen to Liz Cheney all
some
night
kind of
long?
fun conservatives.
I mean, you've basically said, hey, everything else except their physical appearance is equal. Which one do you choose? It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's easy. I'd much rather tune AOC out than have to tune Liz Cheney out.
You just want to go. You just want to go out with somebody in a $20,000 dress. That's it, right?
Not to mention,
She can wear that dress. I mean,
not to
that
mention
Chick-fil-A dress, that was on point.
Plus, considering all
Lord
the
forbid you go to the
criticism
wedding and she catches the flowers.
Considering all the criticism I've done of the Cheneys, I wouldn't want to be caught dead with Dick Cheney's father going hunting. So maybe.
You might-
Oh, you still have the hots
I
for
should
what's her name? Gabby. What's her?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi Gabbard. How could I forget? Okay, all right. So we're gonna go to you next, Andrew. You
One.
get either 1, 2, 3, or 4.
I'm going to pull a Jeff and say 1.
1.
No, you got to say it like 1.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
1.
There you
You
go.
have signed up to participate in a personal safety training class on the Hill. It's your turn to be the perp. And that means you must personally grope a victim and then be tasered. Good God. All right. This is the first time I've read this. Do you pick Maxine Waters or Nancy Pelosi as the victim?
Oh,
That's good.
I'll just try to get caught by Secret Service. I'll run into the White House and try to kiss even Jill Biden as opposed to touching one of those. Oh my goodness!
Oh no, you have a choice. You have to pick.
I'll be bipartisan. I'll say I'll grope AOC and I'll grope Elise Stefanik. I won't touch. I'll be nice. I'll be kind to my elders.
He just keeps on changing
Andrew,
the
the game is the game. Pick. Maxine.
Play the game, Andrew.
Oh my goodness. Well, I like James Brown music, so I'll go with Maxine Waters.
All right.
All right. It's probably probably a better choice. Nancy's got a few years on you. Of course, Maxine is no spring chicken. All right. Here we go. We have 2, 3, and 4 left. I'm going to go to Sarah.
3.
Numero 3. Yay or nay? Pineapple on a pizza. This must be our daily
You better
double.
answer this question the right way.
Oh, this is our daily double. Hit the
Our daily double.
sign.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, heck no.
9.
Yes, I am so with you. Why do people do that?
Twisted.
All
Ask
right.
my wife. She loves it. I have no idea why.
My daughter
damn,
loves
I'm
it too.
so
My daughter
sorry.
She
loves
doesn't
the
get to go to
pineapple.
dinner with us then. She's not going
Okay.
to dinner with us.
Okay, Heather and I are going to have a serious talk on our
Yeah.
retreat.
I'm glad that you and I can still be friends, Sarah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I completely agree with you. Okay. James, you get 2 or 4. And if you pick the wrong one and piss me off, you're fired.
Oh, well, crap.
Now, that was a Trump impression. Get
Right.
fired.
We'll go with 4.
Number 4.
Yep.
Senate Democrats and House Democrats have gone to war with one another. It's Pelosi versus
This is
Manchin.
good news.
It's
Sorry.
Pelosi versus Manchin, and it's winner take all. Do you jump in and help or watch as they pick off each other one by one?
Oh, man.
Wow.
Classic battle tactic. Let them fight it out amongst themselves and then conquer whoever wins.
All right. I think that's
Sun Tzu.
that's
That was
decent.
Sun Tzu, wasn't it?
That's
Mhm.
right.
I would be hoping I could be pulling Manchin off the battlefield and giving him a cocktail and saying thank you.
What's the actual phrase there? Don't get involved when your enemy is.
Oh, when your
destroyed?
enemies are destroying each other? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't remember the
yeah.
exact wording, but it's something to that effect.
All right. The last one, I'm stuck with number 2 then. Why do I always get stuck with stuff I haven't read? Democrats have been in control for 3 decades now. Oh,
Oh, man.
all right. That took me back a little.
Yeah.
We'd all be dead. I
My
mean,
heart skipped a beat.
Yeah, I thought, I wonder if I'm still here. All you have to eat is what grandma used to call stick meat.
Slick,
Slick meat?
slick meat.
Okay, slick meat.
Okay, maybe that's an Indiana thing. I don't know.
giggity.
Does anybody know what that is? I don't know what that is.
Isn't that baklava?
I mean-
isn't that the that stick?
Slick.
They have this-
Slimy feeling meat.
I mean, if it's stick meat, like at the Chinese restaurant, I'm pretty sure
It's
it's
not
rat.
stick meat. It's still
Okay.
slick meat. God, you people cannot play this game.
Baklava is like an Middle Eastern dessert. That's not,
Yeah.
that's not.
Stop with
All
the
right.
baklava.
All right.
I've never heard of slick meat.
Okay, me either. You can get only one choice for the rest of your life. Do you pick bologna or boiled ham?
Which are slick meats. Just saying.
Okay.
Oh, okay, then I like them both. I love bologna and I love boiled ham. Can I put them both on a sandwich with a little mustard?
Well, I think since you
Tomato.
like both of them, I figured nobody would like either one of them. I like both of them too.
I like both. But with
Yeah.
bologna,
I like
you can
vegan
fry it up,
bologna. Vegan
and you got
bologna's good.
fried bologna. It's the
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. That
I mean,
is
you could
the
fry
bomb.
the boiled ham too, and it would be way better. But
Yeah, it's the bomb. I love this game. Now I'm hungry. All
I
right.
know what you guys are having for lunch at the
Lunchtime.
advance.
Yeah, vegan bologna and vegan ham.
Oh no! No. Who
Oh,
wants to hear your
there
vegan
can't
stuff?
be such a thing.
tofurkey.
Oh, Furky. Oh,
Well,
boy.
folks, we hope you played along with us. It's all in good fun. We love to hear your worst case scenario in the next round of our Game Mania show. And we hope you do never, ever, ever put pineapple on your pizza. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. Sign up for our new member zone, just $29.99 for the year, folks. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio, and our executive producer, Sarah Cowgill. I'm Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com. Conservative news, where truth matters.